Hey, Paradise people. Welcome back to the podcast and our radio show on Bobo 89.1 FM. I'm Bella Rooney, your host, and today we're chatting via Zoom. If the sound quality sounds a little different to you, we are chatting with one of my favorites. We're chatting with Emily DeCou from TRUE.M. Is that how you pronounce it? TRUE.M,
Yes.
her brand new consultancy firm. So, Emily, I'm so excited about this for you. Congratulations, first
Thank
of
you
all.
so much. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for having me on here. I love the podcast and I'm so honored to be a guest on this week's episode. So thank you.
No, thank you. So Emily has an incredible background, like incredible, all-around sustainability advocate in all different areas. She also has worked with Amplify and started, I think, was one of the starters of Amplify Cayman, and was a political candidate for Georgetown East in our last election. And I mean, just so much more stuff. TRUE.M provides tailored guidance for incorporating sustainable habits at home for those that want to live more sustainably, but maybe need a little extra something to get them going. So, Em, let's start by telling us about yourself. When did you decide to open this firm? Why? And what's your background in all this?
Oh gosh, that's a huge question. A bit about me. I mean, I have been a passionate environmentalist, I would consider all my life. I remember getting a t-shirt when I was like 13 or 14 from my mom that just said green is my favorite color, but it meant green, like eco. And it just went from there. I just, I tried my best to be a good citizen and, participate in my own democracy and support initiatives that are sustainable. As you get older, you kind of start to, think about these things critically a bit more, and you're seeing that this could be done a lot more efficiently if perhaps policy was different, from the citizen standpoint. Like an example would be recycling. um, we're really stalled as citizens in our ability to be sustainable due to a lack of holistic policy that supports that. So I started TRUE.M. Like I said, I'm a passionate environmentalist, but before launching my own consultancy firm, I actually worked in the financial services industry for about 13 years. And the financial services industry is built to bring socioeconomic justice. It really is. It's a system that's very well designed, but unfortunately, it's not being leveraged ethically. There's a lot of corruption and a lot of people getting rich at the expense of a lot of other people. So that all being said, I could no longer, feel just in giving my expertise up day in and day out for something I just didn't really believe in. I could see those systems working for the betterment of my local community. I could see those systems supporting more entrepreneurs, as an example. And that's just not the case, because it's probably easier to, uh, go for international equity kind of, you know, clients, which I get, I understand, we all have to, make money, but I don't believe that it should be at the expense of others. So I say all that to say, I realized that I wanted to put my passion and my expertise into something I know would deliver the outcomes that I'm passionate about, which is seeing people I know, my peers, my community, genuinely investing in themselves, in their homes, in their neighborhoods through incorporating more sustainable habits. But unfortunately, there's so much information out there, right? And there's a lot of misinformation out there. So a lot of people really do just get really overwhelmed. They're like, where do I even begin? They don't know who, their candidate might be and what policy they might support, what, strategies they might be on in a sustainable way. So they don't know if they should reach out to their elected official. That's another thing that, I want to help folks do, is participate in their own democracy when it comes to being advocates for themselves and their communities and their families, when it comes to sustainability. TRUE.M is a very holistic firm that really works with the individual to meet you at your level, get an understanding of where you're at, and go from there. Like, it's not an overnight process. I am not about to, just send a boatload of information your way and overwhelm you even more potentially and be like, this is how much it's going to cost for you to completely transition your house. And you have to, no, it's not like that at all. It's a tapered baby steps. I didn't get to this point overnight. It easily took 15 years, and I don't expect any of my clients to get to, feeling like, yeah, I don't throw anything away. I buy all our, local stuff like overnight. That's not an overnight process. Easily probably a couple months to a year. realistically. But yeah, I hope that with True.M, I can help young people like myself be more resource efficient, i.e., make money potentially or save money just from a few small switches at home to more sustainable habits. When you're not rebuying so much stuff because you perhaps have replaced it with something that will last you a long time, you will save money. And that money that you're saving, that potentially over time can translate to possibly you looking at how much you work and saying, okay, well, if I'm saving $500 a month now because I've incorporated all these habits, perhaps I can cut back my hours at work to spend more time with my family because that's what's really important to me, or give back to my community more because that's what's more important. That's more, that is important to me. That's the idea. We're really at a point in our history where people are just like chained to their desks, and it's sad. I was there. I was that person, and it is a sad existence. You want to be more active, and it's hard to find that time. But I hope that with some of my solutions that I can help people incorporate, that they'll spend more time outside. They'll improve their mental health a little bit, their physical health. Simple things like just growing a few herbs at home forces you to get outside for even an hour a week just to harvest your little basil or your little green onions or whatever. It gets you breathing fresh air, gets you sunshine. It's what our ancestors did. It's not, hippie stuff, tree hugger stuff. It's really just common sense, in my opinion.
I
You
agree.
don't need to be a sustainability advocate to be a good person. And quite frankly, I think honestly, Bella, we really should be really proud that we have the privilege to access a lot of stuff that helps us be more sustainable. And that's something we should like actively be, seeking out is the better solution. When I say no better, do better, and that's in reference to Maya Angelou, but it really does, when you think about sustainability, it's very applicable there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with everything you just said. I agree with everything you just said. It's baby steps, like you said. It's about, nobody's asking you to reach 100% sustainability in the next year. It's about reaching maybe 1% next year. Maybe let's go for 5% the year after that. Maybe let's go for 20. Let's just go crazy and go for 20% the year after that. Stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which that's why you're here, because it's actually not as hard as you think it is. So speaking on that, so I had a little look through your website. I love it. Super easy to schedule.
Thank you, yes.
I think it's great. So on there it says TRUE.M is committed to helping the current generation embrace reciprocity, humanity's moral generational obligation to care for and protect the resources that support our existence. The word reciprocity, I actually had to Google that.
It means so many different things, but in the context of total resource use and efficiency, which is what TRUE is an acronym for.
Oh,
yes.
So it's an acronym for
total resource use and efficiency.
Oh, I love that, because that's what I was going to say is I'm not sure what that word was. So I was going to ask if you could break that whole sentence and that whole idea down for somebody who maybe got confused.
Yes, absolutely.
I did.
Absolutely. Okay. But yeah, can you just repeat your question real quick? I'm sorry.
So
thanks.
Yeah. My question is, so that statement, TRUE.M is committed to
reciprocity.
Embrace it. Humanity's moral generation obligation to care for and protect resources. Just break that down for people, like the phrase of what that means really for our generation.
I think for our generation, that translates to just coming to the, philosophical realization that time is, in Cayman, we say time is longer than rope. Like time is very long, and there are guaranteed an infinite number of people to come after us.
Yeah.
And those infinite number of people need to survive. And we need to care for the resources around us in order for them to do so. But also, quite frankly, in order for us to do so. Like, even if nobody was born again after, a week from now, those people that still have that 100-year-long rough lifespan will need resources to survive. They'll need clean, protected, cared for resources. So, as much as we might at home incorporate all these healthy habits, we also need to take it a step further and advocate for ourselves on a systems change level. So when it comes to advocating better for ourselves when at home it will be in parliament, in other countries it'll be, you know, in your Senate and whatnot. But you have to like consider that all the effects of industries will tend to have trickle effects on residents, in the sense of some countries will have air pollution. So if it's all well and good for you to go plant a garden and try to do yourself well in that way, but if you're getting air pollution dropping on your garden, you're not actually, unfortunately, you're not actually making the difference you think you are. So that is simply to say, that's where the holistic element of TRUE.M comes in, because it's not just about you acting more consciously and more sustainably as a consumer and as a citizen, but also you have to participate in your own democracy. You have to hold your elected officials accountable, because this is your health, this is your family's health, your community's health, and not just the ones that exist now, but the ones that will come. Because like, even if you never have kids, you'll have friends who become your family and their kids are, it's all a one village community. And like I said, again, I think this is something we should be proud to have the privilege to be able to incorporate in our lives, because it really is just a matter of making a different choice. We're going to spend the money. You just need to make a different choice, right? And perhaps plan it so that, you know, of course, like if you're economically only able to afford perhaps the plastic water bottles, because investing in a 30-40 bottle solid water bottle, I get that. I was there. I understand. And that just simply means just saving up a little bit. And now in 6 months, you can envision yourself. And now if you told yourself, look, if I now have 1 gallon bottle less a day for half a year, going from half a year this year, and then going forward for the rest of my life, please calculate that number of bottles you will save from landfill and the environment. And I'm telling you, you will find it within yourself to want to commit to that change. I think so.
Yeah, that's it. Well, once you break it down into something that's easily attainable, you understand your effects. It's hard to see living it day to day, but when you work on that basis, I agree. So
for sure.
Sustainability consultancy, is that what you call it?
Yes, it's tailored sustainability guidance. Yes, I'm a consultancy firm offering tailored sustainability guidance.
Cool. So it sounds super interesting, super cool job.
Thank you.
How did you become a consultant? What did that actually entail for you?
Okay, so to become a qualified total resource use and deficiency consultant, because that is the full thing, I was qualified by the United States Green Building Council, who also developed the LEED Green Building Design Rating Design System. So LEED stands for Leader in Environmental and Efficiency Design, if I'm not mistaken. So most people are familiar with the LEED designation. So they also developed the Total Resource Use and Deficiency Program. It was known as the Zero Waste qualification, but unfortunately Zero Waste was trademarked, so they had to rename it something else. And it works out well because it's a cute little acronym called TRUE.
I love that.
Yeah. And, you know, and just in my passions in life, you know, it breaks my heart just to see somebody using plastic when the alternatives are so accessible nowadays. And so I really want to make it a judgment-free zone. Like, I am not judging you. I know there's a lot of guilt around people who might feel, oh, well, I've already done so much. I'm too far in. I can't come back. No. I assure you, you are the best person to set up an appointment with me. If you think that you can't, trust me, you can. It really is just small steps. You know, there's a great quote that says success is the sum of small efforts repeated day in and day out. And there's another great quote that says, it's just one straw, said 7 billion people, right? So if you imagine you're using, let's say 1 bottle of water a day, that's 365 bottles a year. Now, if you switch that out for 1 reusable bottle for the rest of your life, that's a lot. And even if you, and it goes from there. I think reusable water bottles are probably the easiest example, but I am telling you, humanity survived for millennia without plastic, and we can do it and should do it again. It's quite frankly, it's so unhealthy for us to be this exposed to plastic. I mean, really, plastic should really be saved for, in my opinion, like medical settings and just the absolute bare minimum. It's a tool. It's not the be all end all. it does make people sick. It does contain chemicals that will affect us. And when that enters our water, it breaks down into microplastics. I'm preaching to the choir now, but like it really definitely affects our health. Like it'll affect your endocrine system, your hormones, which are just not fun.
That's not fun at all.
It's getting into our it's getting into the rain, it's raining down. I mean, microplastics have been found in bloodstreams. That is horrifying to think about. So, even if you don't necessarily recycle, but perhaps you bought something in glass or metal packaging, not if that ends up in the environment, but when that ends up in the environment, because these things last hundreds of years. And that is thinking to yourself, oh, for hundreds of years, some person, some professional is going to make sure that that never enters the environment. No, that's just unrealistic, I feel. And even if that glass or metal ends up in the environment, it's not going to be leaching out things that make us sicker. It'll be reabsorbed of some kind, or it'll, sea glass. Who doesn't love finding sea glass personally? But it does. It breaks down a lot better and more healthy for the environment around it. Yeah.
So it's definitely, it's an education thing that has to happen as well with a lot of people. It's quite scary. So it's quite a thing to educate people on without losing them somewhere in the terror.
Absolutely.
So I guess one of my other questions is, what is something that you actually have been, as you've been going so far, is there a question that you've been getting asked the most while you've been consulting? Like one specific thing that people have been coming back to? Or is there multiple things?
No, but what I will say is that a lot of people get intimidated because they think that they can't afford to do it. They can't afford to switch to better quality things that will last them longer. And my response is humbly, if you can afford brunch, you can afford this. Very like straight out. And because honestly, like if you broke it down, if you made a plan for yourself, or if you engaged me to do said plan for you, because that's something I also offer, because everybody's really busy and not everybody has time to go to the stores and look in and find the most sustainable thing. Sometimes they don't know what they're looking for. Sometimes they might, and a lot of products are greenwashed, so it'll look like it's sustainable. They'll buy it thinking it's a great thing, and it's like, actually, sorry, no. So that's another service that I'm offering, is if you do decide that you want to make more sustainable habits, what we'll do is we'll create a literal plan. It's about a year. It could be 3, 6, 12, 18 months for you, depending on where you're at. And in those months, you just pay a small fee and I will do all the hard working for you. And you, at the end of every month, get a nice little box of, a couple sustainable items that you need for your life, because you and I have gotten an understanding of where you're at. And I'll select. I know a lot at this point. I've made a lot of mistakes, so I'm just trying to help others not make the same ones.
So speaking on that, for anybody who I keep saying speaking on that, but for anybody who didn't know, brunch in the Cayman Islands is quite a big thing. If anybody's listening from anywhere else, brunch in Cayman is a big thing. It's usually a $60 to $100 affair that you, or some people may do every Sunday. Some people may skip one now and again. But so in terms of, actually, you mentioned we're lucky to live in a place where and I guess a time where we can where we have the resources available to us. And so that was a question I had for you, is do you think, because you're working with people in Cayman predominantly?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So my question is, do you think we have the resources and support available on our islands for people to achieve these goals? Like, because
yes and no. Yes and no. I think there are definitely, I think if you, as an individual, as a consumer, I think you could probably get about 80%, honestly, as just your everyday kind of things that you use. I mean, we're talking simple switches like shampoo bottle to a shampoo bar, dish sponge to a little wooden scourer, as an example. Switching everything from bottles to bars as an example. But the fault then comes in what is packaged in stuff that you can't recycle. That's where that's the onus is on us to then be good citizens and advocate for that better in our policy. There are 3 major systems of change: behavior, market, and policy. So TRUE.M's goal is to holistically help each individual, each client work within each one. So as a consumer, your behavior, no, sorry, as an individual, how you go about your day, and then as a consumer into the market, but then how you exercise your democratic, participation, like as a target for systems change. So you're writing to your elected officials, you're saying, hi, I don't agree with this development in my in our constituency, or I would rather see more green spaces, more bike lanes, things that let you live a more support you living a more sustainable lifestyle, right? And it's all well and good. I definitely think that the government that we have now is definitely more conscious of supporting people being more ethical consumers and citizens. That being said, we do have a long ways to go, but I believe strongly that any change is good change. Like any small thing you can do it has a massive impact. Trust me, over time, it really does. So that, like even I will say it emphatically over and over, I am not perfect in any way, shape, or form. I am constantly looking at things I do and looking to see how I can be better. I'm not expecting anybody to be perfect and get this right. I will never judge if I see you in public with a water bottle after we just went through. No, you will not get that.
Yeah.
It's good. I understand it. I get it.
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, that's good to know because you're not perfect. Nobody's perfect, and life just gets messy, and you can't do anything about that sometimes, right? So I guess right now, is the company just looking at consumers and people in their homes, or is it maybe are you hoping to expand to corporate businesses or bigger companies like that in the future?
Right. For now, I am only focusing on individuals, mainly young professionals in our peer group. But of course, anybody can reach out and set up an appointment, get a free initial consultation with me, and I will explain what I do. I'll get a small understanding of like where you're at. There's absolutely no pressure to commit at all. If it does sound up your alley, just say, yeah, I might be interested in that. I will send you an email thereafter, and it is on you whether you decide to go forward. But really and truly, I don't think there's any time like the present. There's so many years to come like that. Every day we can be doing something. It's just small decisions. Yeah.
And I guess without going straight to corporate businesses, even talking to people who work in those businesses to begin with,
Absolutely.
then take the lessons you teach them to their businesses and apply them.
Absolutely. Because unfortunately, not a lot of people, professionals, think about their role and their profession in the context of, are my values and my morals aligned? Is this something, I am so in awe of the degrees that we get for ourselves and the experience that we build for ourselves. But then I look at the clientele of a lot of, of my former colleagues, and they're just not ethical. And it's not any fault of their own, but to me, I imagine a world where we know our clients and we know that they're environmentally and socially responsible investors. That's how I would love to see the financial services gravitate to. And so it's working with individuals to let them know, like, hey, you can go into your firm and advocate for more ESG standards, in incorporating more ESG solutions in your business. And you can make it very clear that respectfully, your employment is dependent on that, because that's just what it boils down to. Imagine if enough of us did that.
It would be
would be, what would you do? You would really have to make the transition. I hear a lot in these, global finance forums about the initiatives for ESG and how much investors are just chomping at the bit for these initiatives. I'm like, I don't see it. Where?
Yeah.
Am I missing something? I mean, 13 years I was there. Nobody ever called me and said, hi, I'd like to form a fund for ESG. Never. So not to say they don't exist, but genuinely people will, because it's unfortunately, not unfortunately, but unfortunately, if your mandate is profit, you don't want to go towards those. So, you
Yeah.
know, it's just, in my opinion, just about giving people as much knowledge as possible to go through life advocating for themselves and the things that they believe in, which should hopefully be their health, their community's health, their family's health,
Yeah.
and meeting them where they're at, because not everybody's in the same space and not everybody needs the same solution. You know, if it would make no sense for me to put a book together and just send my book to clients and then have them go through and figure out what works for them.
Yeah.
In 5 minutes, I can find out and we can go from there. It's
Exactly. No, I agree. You have to meet people where they are. I 100% agree with that. And actually, I have a question here, which, um, if in a hypothetical world you were consulting our government or the people who run this country, what would be your number one thing that you would tell them to do to move towards sustainability in Cayman? That's a big question.
listen to the people.
Oh, great. Yeah.
I mean, I know very few people who are not for sustainability. And those very few who aren't are real estate developers. And I even know real estate developers who are very much like, we need to get this into a better, because the writing is on the wall. Land is finite. It will run out. You know, we have to think about this a bit more sensibly. But definitely, I lost my train of thought. I apologize. But
that would be your biggest point.
I would definitely say, you know, work, because we're not asking for much. I say this time and time again, we are not asking to be flown to the moon. We are simply asking for a single-use plastic ban, recycling facilities, reliable transportation, and better access to energy security. That's another one. Utilizing solar and making that accessible to folks. Electric vehicles. I love that there's 100% duty-free electric vehicles, but I don't see people. I just don't see people taking advantage of that. There's a lot of maintenance that goes into them, so it's about making that accessible, making people's healthy habits sustainable, accessible. Sorry.
And supporting them when everybody wants it. It's definitely tricky. Definitely. Well, I guess one of my last questions to wrap us up, because I see my little timer in Zoom saying
yes.
my last question really is, where can people go? How do they, like, what happens when they book a consulting session with you? They book it on your website, and then
they do. I can be found via Calendly. Just set up an appointment at a time that works for you. So that Calendly is an amazing little app that knows when I am available. So it will only show you times when I'm available so that you can book a time that works for you, that works for both of us. Generally, our first initial consult will be 30 to 45 minutes. It really shouldn't be that long. It's mostly just me telling you about my services, getting a small understanding of where you're coming from, and essentially explaining, you know, what over time I hope to be able to help you with. If that sounds like it's up your alley, I'll then send you an email and basically an engagement letter, and we'll go from there. But thereafter, depending on what habits you want to incorporate, do you want to start with just, you know, upgrading your kitchen to being more sustainable, or do you want to just full Monty it, go hard, go 2023, this is my resolution, I am being sustainable, and you know, I'm not going to brunch every week, and this is what I want to do. I am your girl. Give me a shout. I would love to help. I live and breathe sustainability, and I genuinely love helping my peers adopt more sustainable habits. I foresee us in like 10 years just sitting around and, you know, actually being able to enjoy our time because we've invested in ourselves now, you know, to the point where we can perhaps, I don't know, put it into the universe, retire early, you know, things like that, buy land and, you know, accumulate generational wealth and wonderful stuff like that. Another thing I'll say, Bella, before we go and wrap up is sustainability is nothing new for the Caymanian people. Resourcefulness is in our DNA, it's our heritage. We care for and protect the resources around us. If you look back to your grandfather's generation and that kind of, they made sure the water was clean. Why? Because you need to go fishing to feed your family from it. You made sure the fish were plentiful. Why? Because you needed to make sure that other people's families could eat. You didn't spew your trash. You didn't let pollutants go in the air. No, it was out of, you respected the resources that supported your and others' existence. And you know, even if you didn't think, oh, well, future generations will have to, you just knew in this moment, we've got to make sure that this is taken care of. It's in our blood. I don't think it's hard once you start making those little habits. You know, it becomes fun. Honestly, it becomes fun. Shopping is not a bore after you become more sustainable. I think it's even funner trying to find, you know, brands that are really genuinely, you know, B corporations as an example, that are very socially invested. I love that stuff. I go a little crazy for it.
Oh, well, then you're the perfect person for this. And I'm very thankful that you're out here doing it. And your first consultation is free anyway. And so people really have
You have nothing to lose.
there's nothing to lose. Just spend a little
Yep.
bit of time and don't be scared. If anybody's listening,
No.
scared of transitioning, don't. It's okay. And everybody's here to support you through it. Like
Yes.
we're here to do it. They're here to do it. Well, anyway, thank you so much, Emily.
Thank
You so much for coming on today. I'm so excited about this for you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I'm so excited. And thank you so much to our DMS Broadcasting and Bobo 89.1 and our silent sponsors, and to my friend Ryan Kirkaldy, who's going to be stitching this up for you to see a little bit later. And check out our filmed episode over on YouTube when it comes out, and follow us on Instagram, Facebook at Protecting Paradise. Make sure you follow Emily here and TRUE.M. And and you can't care unless you know, guys. That's why she's here. She's here to teach you. Don't be shy. Get in there. And thanks for joining us today. Remember, we are always open to your opinions on topic suggestions. So don't be shy, and we'll see you next week. Toodles!